Today, we're going to discuss the past simple tense and how to form the past simple using regular and irregular verbs. Remember, you will need your pen, a highlighter, and a note-taking sheet while watching today's video. Write down any questions that you may have for your teacher as we go. Remember, you can pause the video, rewind, and watch it as many times as you like. We use the past tense to describe things we did in the past. When we talk about the past, we must change the form of the verb, and sometimes we add time expressions like ago, yesterday, last night, in the past, and so on. These expressions help us to know exactly when the action happened in the past. There are two different groups of verbs in the past. There are regular verbs and irregular verbs. In today's lesson, we will look at both kinds. Let's look at regular verbs first. What do we need to add to the end of the verb to form the regular past? That's right, an ed. However, we do have to follow some spelling rules. Sometimes we have to add only d or ied. For example, I visit my grandmother every day becomes I visited my grandmother last night. The boys race their bikes after school becomes they raced their bikes after school yesterday. She studies hard at school becomes she studied for her exam last week. So what happens to the verb in these examples? Talk? That's right, it becomes talked in the past. Tom talked to his best friend last night about his assignment. We also know it happened in the past because last night is mentioned. Play? Played. I played some vocabulary games on my iPad yesterday. Play is a regular verb, so we add an ed to form the past tense. Study? Studied. She studied hard for her exam and passed with an A. We have two past tense verbs in that sentence. Notice how they are spelt differently in the past. Don't worry, we will look at some spelling rules later. Smile? Smiled. She smiled when she got her result. Cry? Cried. Sam cried with happiness when he passed his final test. Create? Created. I created a new folder on my computer. Now that wasn't difficult, was it? Let's look at the spelling rules for regular verbs now. Pause the video if you want to make your own notes using this chart. If a verb ends in E, we add D. Dance becomes danced. Decide, decided. If a verb ends in a vowel-vowel consonant, we add ed. Need becomes needed. Clean, cleaned. If the verb ends in a consonant-vowel consonant, we double the consonant and add ed. Stop becomes stopped. Plan becomes planned. If the verb ends in a vowel plus a y, w, ch, ss, x, sh, or th, then we add ed. Box becomes boxed. Snow, snowed. Kiss, kissed. And finally, if it ends in a consonant plus a y, we drop the y and we add ied. So study becomes studied. Try, tried. Copy, copied. Don't worry if you don't remember the spelling rules right away. With practice, you'll get better. Now, let's take a look at irregular verbs in the past. This is a bit more complicated because the verbs change their form completely, and you need to learn them. Here are 3 examples of irregular verbs. The verb go. I go to class. But in the past, it does not become I goed. It becomes I went to class. As you can see, the form of the verb is really different. It's the same with the verb fly. He flies to London. It doesn't become he flied. It becomes he flew to London. And also the verb buy. They buy food at the supermarket, but they bought food at the supermarket last week. Buy becomes bought. You can see that you're going to have to memorize these. Irregular verbs are very common in English, so you might already know some. Let's practice and see what you know. See if you can complete each sentence. Number 1, the present tense verb is go. Can you complete the sentence? That's right. My friend and I went and asked for help. Number 2, present tense is find. Faisal found someone's iPhone in the library. Number 3, come. That's right. They came to class really late yesterday. Number 4, take. Sharifa took her friend to the health center. How about number 5? I left my laptop at the help desk. And number 6, write. I wrote an email to my teacher. How about number 7, see? That's right. Amna saw the counselor. And number 8, win? Aisha won an award for attendance. Number 9, have? The teacher had a difficult time in class. And number 10, buy? Wow, you bought a new Mac. See? How many of those did you already know? Well, we've looked at the positive forms of regular and irregular verbs in the past. So let's focus on forming the negative and question forms now. Look carefully at the table to see how to make the positive, negative, and question forms of verbs in the past. It doesn't matter if the verb is regular or irregular. The pattern is always the same. Let's practice now. In this last part, each sentence has one mistake. Can you find the mistake and fix it? Number 1, can you find the mistake here? William didn't came to school yesterday. That's right. William didn't come to school yesterday. If you look back at the table, you will see that didn't is followed by the base form of the verb come. What's the mistake in number 2? The students didn't eat lunch in the cafeteria. That's right. It should be the students didn't eat lunch in the cafeteria. Again, we need to use the base form of the verb eat because it follows didn't. Let's look at the next sentence. Can you find the mistake in number 3? Lesson stopped at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's right. This mistake is a spelling mistake. Look back at the spelling rules table. Remember, you have to double the letter P. S-T-O-P-P-E-D. Stopped. What's wrong with sentence number 4? How did you made that presentation? It should be, how did you make that presentation? We need to use the base form of the verb when forming questions. Look for the mistake in question number 5. Why Paula decided to buy a new iPad? Remember, we need to use did and the base form of the verb when we make questions. So it should be, why did Paula decide to buy an iPad? And finally, what's wrong in sentence number 6? Mr. Chester taught English last year. That's right. The past tense verb form for teach is taught because teach is an irregular verb, so it should be Mr. Chester taught English last year. That's all for today. Remember to rewatch this video as many times as you like. Thanks for watching and good luck.